Hi everyone, Freestyle Fit here. I am ready to give you some advice on rolling with all sorts of equipment. So a lot of people do start or finish their workout with rolling their quads, rolling their glutes, rolling their lats, but I get a lot of feedback that they're not quite sure if they're doing it all right. So I know that the most common things that people are using are a roller. They come in all different shapes and forms. Since I'm traveling, this is a little travel roller. It works exactly the same way. And a lacrosse ball, a tennis ball, something like that, that definitely gives those tight, tinier muscles next to joints a lot more range of motion. So I personally like to roll before workouts or on days where I'm pretty sore. You don't want to overuse a lacrosse ball. So if you're doing this like 5 times a day and you're feeling like, ooh, I'm bruised, probably not the best thing. So what I'm gonna do is actually just start with a couple of the main muscles and how to find them. So a lot of people talk about their IT bands being tight. So that muscle and connective tissue that runs from your hip down to your knee. So a lot of people might get some pain down here by their knee or get tightness up in their hip. So it is important to roll that out. However, rolling the IT band itself isn't going to do you much good, but rolling the insertion at the top, that tensor fasciae latae, that's going to do a good job on, loosening up, even way down and connecting at the knee. That's going to help. So how you find that TFL muscle, sit with your feet about a foot apart out in front of you, and all you're going to do is take your thumbs into that sore spot. You'll know right away because you'll be like, feels kind of gushy in there, a little sore. I want you to just rotate your feet in. You'll feel that muscle move when you do that. That's the TFL. So that's where you want to get that lacrosse ball, all right? Your glute med is another one that's really good with the lacrosse ball. So how you find that? It works on abduction of the hip. So when you're doing those like clamshells, it often works. Even if you just straighten your leg and do this, you'll feel a little divot. There's that muscle, okay? So I want you to find that muscle however you can here. I find it a little easier to find with my legs straight. So this whole connection here is where you're gonna have a lot to do with this lacrosse ball. So let's give that a go. So the easiest way to get into that TFL, let's find it first. You'll know right away once you actually lay on this ball. I like to do it at an angle here. So I put the ball right into that muscle and I'm laying on my elbow. So it's right in there. Now to relax here, you might find it pretty tough. So bring that other knee up and get onto both elbows. And just find that kind of achy muscle spot, and I want you to just breathe into that. I roll back and forth slightly, and you'll find the most tender spot. You might have to roll up a little bit. And then once you're on it, you're more than welcome to lift that back foot up and down if it's too painful to roll back and forth. And then you're moving that muscle around a little bit on that lacrosse ball. All right, so starting there, and you're probably just gonna stay in here for about 30 seconds to a minute. And then you can start rolling around to the back side where that glute med is. That's when you start turning over onto your side. This foot can stay where it is, and you'll find a nice spot in there. All right, so stay kind of higher than you think you have to, but not bone on bone. If you're feeling like you're just sitting on a bone, you're not quite in the right place. So remember where those are, feel them out on your other side, and even from this position, you'll stay 30 seconds to a minute. And then when you roll over to your glute med, oftentimes I just have both knees up and I lower one and lift. And that's gonna get right into that muscle because that's the motion that it works, that muscle, okay? So whenever you're bringing your hip away from your body, you're getting right into that muscle. So that's why lowering the knee and lifting it up is so good. And again, maybe 30 seconds to a minute on each side, rolling from right in this muscle here, all through this area, all into this zone, and then around to here. All right? So these are all really great places for your lacrosse ball. So you do both sides there. All right? After that, we'll get you onto your roller. So a good way to start your quads, I want you to find the roller up by your hips. So no matter how long your roller actually ends up being, this leg will be out of the way. So do one at a time. All right, so I want you to go about 4 inches on the top of that quad. So right up into the hip and just roll it down about 4 inches. Okay, you're gonna do that maybe 10 times. Once you've rolled that 10 times, that first 4 inches, you're gonna work your way down a little bit lower into the quad and do the middle. Just rolling back and forth straight on it. You don't need to roll over to the IT band. You've already rolled that TFL, just straight in the middle of that quad. Now you're always welcome to go back and get a little bit more medial or lateral, but for the purpose of this, just 10 times. Now when you get closer to the knee, so when you get up right by that knee and you're going that last 4 inches, that's when I want you to turn a little bit to the side. So this leg's supporting the same elbow, and you're just gonna get a little on that side, not directly on it. Some people have that sensitivity right above the knee. So you wanna make sure slightly to the side. Same thing, 4 inches, up and down. If you wanna get the medial side, that VMO muscle, that little teardrop, I put that other leg down. So if I'm facing you, right here, and I just get right in there. So this will be really good for your adductors as well. So I'm always controlling the roll with my upper body, okay? So that only one leg is on there, and you can control the pressure just by how much of your body weight sinking into the floor and how much is on the roller. All right, so that's kind of how I work into the quad muscle. So if you're taking your roller, it's really starting at the hip, this much, 10 times, down to the middle of the quad, 10 times, down a little bit laterally, 10 times closer to the knee, and then you can do a full inside, outside, full roll on that roller, all right? So that'll feel really good for the quads. Now, a good trick with your calves. This is where people find it awkward to be on the roller and they're like, so let's try to eliminate that. Start at the very closest part to your ankle here. You're gonna cross one foot over the other and you're gonna rock back and forth instead of rolling up and down. So you're gonna go back there, you're gonna feel that and say, okay, it's starting to feel pretty good, a little less ropey. That's when you inch forward and roll to the next inch of your calf. So you're getting in the tendons rather than right in that muscle belly at first. Good, rolling back and forth. If that weight is too much, you might not even need that other leg on top. If your calves are super tight, nobody's wearing high heels right now, let's be honest. So you might actually have pretty loose calves, but we are doing a lot of boot camps where there's a ton of jumping and a lot of hits. So this pressure might be enough. Put your foot on if you need a little bit more, and you just work your way up the calf that way. Again, probably a minute, minute and a half each calf, 10 to 20 rocks back and forth. It just all depends on how tight you are. Don't overdo it, but work yourself up the calf. That's a really easy way to do it. Now, everybody's least favorite, your lats. Actually, let's do your glute first on here. If you don't have a lacrosse ball, really good way to get into your glute med here is by sitting on your roller, finding kind of that gushy part, taking that leg, so whatever butt you're stretching, take that leg up onto your other leg and roll back and forth. So your other leg's supporting with your arm and you're just rolling back and forth on that glute. This will feel really, really good to get into that glute max, glute med area. You can go straight up on it a little bit more. You can lean down to the side. If it's super tight, you might even notice just back and forth with that top knee is enough. So that's a good way to get into that glute after you've done your quads. Now your lats, my least favorite. That muscle that's right, kind of, not right in your armpit, but that runs down your back here. The main part that's gonna be sore is a lot of the connectiveness between underneath that armpit all the way down. That's gonna be the easiest place to roll. So one elbow on the ground. Now this is already gonna be pretty uncomfortable for a lot of people. So you're gonna roll open, again, not rolling up and down yet, and closed. So a really nice way to do this is actually taking your other arm by your head. You're gonna open up. You might even wanna pin your leg down. And then you're gonna curl yourself in, try to reach that elbow to the ground. Opening up, make sure you're breathing through the soreness of that lat. That tight muscle is pretty close to my armpit right now. And rolling it forward. Do that a few times before you move it a little bit lower. So you're just gonna roll up. Oh, find the next spot that feels like that and roll it in gently, gently, and open. Good, so that's gonna be a really good way to start. Now, if you're not super sore in your lats, like I am, you might be able to get a little bit of rolling here, but you don't have to go very far, all right? So make sure you're not rolling it forward. You wanna be open so that you're kind of parallel. Start nice and high, and then slowly move up and let that other arm help you. All right? So that one, just warning you, is a little bit more painful. It definitely takes a minute. You've gotta breathe through it. I also suggest if you have any sort of enhancements that you don't actually roll in that area. There's other ways to get into that lat, and it'll be more through stretching. And there's one more that I want to show you that's really good to get into those upper traps. So you're going to need a wall and a ball. All right, upper traps and pecs. It's time to show you how to roll these guys. So using a wall or a hard surface, I want you to find a place that's just inside your shoulder blade. All right, you're going to get it in there, and immediately you might be like, it's already nasty. And just slowly start by rolling down. So you're pushing your knees forward and coming up towards the wall. So really I'm not doing much in terms of moving my upper body. I'm just pushing my knees forward and driving back into the wall. If you want a little bit more than what it's giving you, it always helps to lift up your arms slightly and then try to just get into some of those grooves that opens up. Getting into the upper traps, really back here, the world is your oyster. Whatever feels good. You can rock side to side even, here to here, but you're gonna do one at a time. Your rhomboids, your traps, everything in there just needs a little attention on its own rather than rolling over your spine. So making sure you're doing both sides of that is gonna be super important. All right, it's good. You can use a tennis ball if the lacrosse ball is a little too tight. Into your pecs, so that's in here, right into that muscle. All through here, you're gonna start to feel like, pretty good, especially with all the push-ups people have been doing. Leaning against the wall, push your bum out, you're just going back and forth here, all right? I'm gonna start with nice back and forth motions just underneath my collarbone. Perfect, coming down towards the chest, get all the way towards that armpit again, and then slowly work your way back up. Now remember in here, especially if you've been doing a lot of desk job stuff, sitting at home, this is gonna be tight. Doesn't mean it's tight from overuse or being super strong, but it's tight because when we're sitting at our desk, we're often like this, right? So opening that up and rolling it before we start doing any sort of pulling motion is gonna help us tremendously. So lacrosse ball, tennis ball, these are all huge to get into those tight niggly muscles, especially here in the traps and in through the front in the pecs. Again, probably don't want to do this one if you have any sort of enhancements. Other than that, I really hope that some of this stuff helped you out with opening up your quads, opening up your glutes, understanding where to sit on that roller, where to put that ball, and how to find those tight muscles that really need some work. Till next time, give this a go before your workout. Good luck.